Hi, Sean.
How are you, sir?
Good to see you. Hey, tell you what, we dug through. See, this is what we have. Here in the files. I got 5 of them, one for each of you and Rick Hall. So all 5, you could have one to know what, that's what I've given, that's what a note on top I gave council with this because all but one of them really, or 2 were not part of this. How you doing? Good. Thanks.
Picture on chaperone.
We rise for the pledge of pledges.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone who wants to address council other than the Hillcrest homeowners who are here about the lake? Okay, so Hillcrest homeowners, White Lake owners, Sean's pretty much on, back there, so go ahead and you can open that up. However, we'd appreciate it that if whoever is speaking, introduce themselves, or maybe everybody want to introduce themselves. It's up to you guys.
Okay, you just want me to stand up here or?
Yeah.
Okay, I just prepared a little speech. I'm sorry, I'm not good at public speaking. And good to see you again. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Sean Nelson. I live at 8897 Hillcrest Drive. As most of you are aware, my neighbors and I live adjacent to what is called Vitalman Lake at the end of Hillcrest Drive with my lovely wife, Elisa, and our 3 kids. We are here tonight with our neighbors, Rick Sawyer. Mike and Robin were supposed to be here. They're not. Ray Sip is also here with his daughter, and also Rick Haltridge. As described in our letter written to the mayor and the city council a few weeks back, we are asking this village to remove the muck and sediment from our lake. This has been going on for far too long, and I'm sure most of you are tired of hearing about this lake. It has been said that the village doesn't intervene regarding private property issues. And I think everybody in this room can certainly agree on that. However, when developers from the surrounding subdivisions decided to place 6 very large culvert pipes that drain into a lake, it is without a doubt becomes a village issue. What was once a gorgeous 20-foot lake has become a shallow, filthy, stinky, and unusable swamp in which I can't even paddle a kayak in. I actually tried that and I was unsuccessful. The north half of the lake, where the majority of the inlets is approximately 4 to 6 inches deep, and at the south end is approximately 2.5 foot deep at most. Imagine buying a home here in Westfield with a lake and having intentions of using the lake for outdoor activities like kayaking, canoeing, fishing, swimming, and other wonderful family gatherings. Mike and Robin and their children had great intentions for the lake. Ray and Jessica also had great intentions with their children, and Rick had great intentions as well. They all had great intentions of using the lake prior to purchasing their homes. None of these things as a family are possible regarding the lake, thanks to the extremely poor programming, extremely poor planning years ago. We are fortunate enough to be given stacks and stacks of records and research of over 22 years of lake documents. Twice the city agreed to dredge it. Both times the deal fell through because of lack of communication and broken promises within the homeowners of the lake. In a letter I wrote to you all, I invited you all to come out to the lake and walk around and see for yourselves all the muck and sediment. You were all supposed to receive a copy of the lake diagram with highlighted inlets as well as a brief of the lake. As I drew the diagram of the culvert inlets, I was shocked and taken back by not only how many culverts draining into this lake, from the numerous major subdivisions, but also the amount of muck and sediment directly in front and surrounding the culverts. You can clearly see the years of sediment and muck. You can clearly see the muck and sediment. It is absolutely absurd. I'm sure all of you would be doing the same exact thing as we, if you were in a position as us homeowners. As we, the homeowners, sit here before you today, we've read hundreds of pages, documents, and history reports from not only this village, but from the EPA, Army Corps of Engineers, excavation companies, soil engineers, various law firms, Medina County Soil and Water, and many others. And all of us feel certain that it is the village responsibility to clean up the lake. When the mayor stopped by my home last week, take a look at the pond, he and I had a great talk. The mayor mentioned to me a few years back, they had a plan in place that something was going to be done with the lake. As a previous homeowner, had screwed it up simply because he was selfish and didn't believe the village was equipped to handle the project. The mayor then stated that he was upset that he did not have previous homeowners sign contracts prior to the village putting in work to obtain bids for the project. We are all here to tell you tonight that we are 100% committed to and stand behind one another in getting this project done. None of us want to drag this out any longer. We do not want to turn it into a retention pond, nor do we want to make it a public space, as this has been suggested in the past. We just want the sediment that came from surrounding subdivisions removed and the lake be usable again. That's it. It's quite simple. We are ready to sign any contracts to help move this project further along. We will allow the use of our land for equipment that is working on the project. Please help us end this 22-year-old ongoing issue. I have also brought some pictures that I would like you guys to see. Our pond is a marsh, guys. We can't afford to do it, nor do we think it's our responsibility to do it.
Bring the pictures up.
Is anyone else gonna speak, Sean?
Not that I'm aware of, but everybody may.
If not, I will. A few things to work through here. I've been mayor for quite a while, so I was here 20 years ago when that all came down to possibly fix the lake. As I look back, the village did a study in '03. There were a couple of big rain events apparently in May. And they did a study, had a study done, paid some money for it. And really that study was what led to us trying to do something with the lake. And that study, I only got one copy of it. Maybe you can look at it, or we can make copies of it. But when you read this, it tells you how every one of those pipes got where they are. That study done in '03 tells you how all those pipes got to drain into there. And they drain into there because that was always the natural flow where things would go. Now, the village does have the right to go on your property and dredge it. We do have the right to do that if you want us there. Just like we have the right to plow the snow of every resident in town if we so want to do it and they so want us to do it. But what we choose to do is not to get involved with private kinds of things like that. So when I was approached 20 years ago, I think we're probably in the same spot we were in there. We were willing to work on it as a stormwater mitigation, take out the lake, put a big pipe through there, backyards into some type of a detention basin. We thought it could have been nice. But as you said, I said in our conversation, I know Charlie Riddleberger, I think we talked to everybody at one time or another, but never really sat everybody down and said, put your name on the dotted line. And when the time come, one resident came and said they spoke for all of us and all of the homeowners there, and said it was dredge or be damned. And that was the end of it, because we weren't going to dredge it. I think we're in the same place tonight. I mean, council, I'll have some others, come in here, but I don't believe council will want to get into dredging it. I believe that in the future, council would probably be interested in doing what we did last time, trying to get a grant, match in, and do a stormwater mitigation again, because you can get money for stormwater mitigation type things. We had a grant last time, 20 years ago. I don't know, it was a couple $100,000. And so we gave it back, was what we did, because we couldn't do the project. Homeowners turned out didn't want it. You people, I believe, are in agreement, all four of you, that you don't want that. You just want it dredged. So probably, as I see it, it's a bit of it isn't going to happen that way. Now, I'm just going to throw back over left of me to Greg, because Greg was here 20 years ago, same as I was. Rick was he was on BPA and transitioning on, so he doesn't have much on it. But Greg sat right here with me, and he can tell you what his take on it was and is now, I think. So, Greg.
Well, the mayor's comments, are accurate in terms of what transpired back in 2002, 2003. And at that time, a member of council, you referenced the Medina Soil and Water Conservation District study that was done at that time to determine what the options could be for restoring the lake, just from an information standpoint, irrespective of who might do it. And one of the things that they recommended was that the homeowners join together in a formal association for the maintenance of the lake and collect dues or assessments from the owners on the lake, just like a condo association or a homeowners association would for the maintenance of common areas. Sure. And given that the lake is privately owned by the owners around the lake, that would serve to capitalize future improvements, which could include dredging or other lake maintenance. And that I think is a realistic option. It's a longer term solution, but that is the most common means of maintaining commonly owned property among an association of landowners or homeowners. And the mayor's correct in that we have had a long-standing policy, if you will, in the village, at least in the time that I've been on the council, which has been since 1997, of not getting involved in maintenance of private property. The law director would concur that that is not an advisable situation for any municipality to enter into. Our view of the lake, you referenced the development, for lack of a better term, upstream to the north toward when the lake was originally constructed back in around 1950 by I believe it was Mr. Beidelman, the property owner of the home site. This is not a literal explanation, but a figurative one is that he simply dammed the creek. There was a natural flowage down through the property that drained stormwater runoff from higher elevations down into Canyon Creek. And by basically impeding that water flow, the lake was created, and it is essentially as almost a detention basin. Water was still drained down from the north, but it would go into the lake and out the lake on the southern end. And that type of situation is going to build silt. I mean, it's just inevitable. Now, I think any of us would allow that construction upstream may have hastened that. There were farm fields up there that were developed into subdivisions. Smucker Drive is an example. And during any type of construction, there's going to be an increase in silt. But A man-made lake of that type needs maintenance to remain pristine or to remain viable. And with the silt coming down from the north for whatever reasons, and not being dealt with for 75 years, that is what has resulted in the situation you have now. So we empathize with your situation. We agree that the lake needs attention. Where we have a disconnect is who is responsible or should bear the financial burden of that maintenance. And because it's privately owned and has not previously been maintained from I could be wrong, but I don't believe the lake has ever been dredged. Does anybody remember ever having been done?
No, it's not. I've been there since '86 and so it has never been drained, but 236-inch, well, first off, 248-inch reinforced concrete come down from the Smucker development into a 36-inch pipe into the lake. The outlet, oh God, for 10 or 12 years, maybe longer, was a 12-inch piece of corrugated metal that got blocked up with sticks and twigs and pieces of wood that I had to go out there and smash through just to get the lake to drain. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out 36-inch pipes dumping into a lake in a 12-inch outlet. That's like taking a glass of water and just punching a pencil hole in it. So what happened is you could see it every time the storm come in. Brown would start creeping in at the north end of the lake, and then it would get over to the south end of the lake by the time the storm was done. And the situation just got to the point that the city council went ahead and okayed. Well, they didn't trust it. Originally, the lake had a swale and it was paved, it was concrete, and it was swaled. So when the lake got to a certain height, the water just flowed over that. Well, somehow or another, and that was before me, somebody was worried about that the structure wasn't sound enough for trucks and stuff for the garbage pickup and that to go over. So then that 12-inch pipe got put in there. I don't know who did it. No, probably, I don't know. I couldn't even say it was the homeowner ahead of me, but that basically turned the lake into an early retention basin with an absolute influx of sediment coming in there, and it wasn't designed. The outlet wasn't designed to take it. If the outlet would have been big enough to handle that, we probably might not even be sitting here today talking about it. But unfortunately, it wasn't able to handle that. And so now we have a large grate catch basin at the end of the lake. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections of grates on it. And it's okay initially when the storm starts, but those grates are probably 4 feet and 4 feet on a slant. And if you want to go over there and look now, the first 4 feet are blocked. Now, the city said that when they put that catch basin in there, that they would maintain keeping it clear. Well, the only person keeping it clear 90% of the time is me. I'm out there with a rake scraping the stuff off. You go out and look, the first 4 feet is plugged right now. So what's going to happen when it rains again? Where is this agreement that we had that the city was going to come out and clean those grates? Because I brought that up when they initially put them in. So their solution was to cut out the first 2 sets of bars on the grate. They didn't want them not to be taken off altogether because they were afraid, what if a kid, falls in there and dies or something? So once them bottom 2 areas which is about let's say about a foot high on an angle. Once those bottom two areas get twigs and logs and leaves, that's it. Then it keeps progressing up, and this last storm it progressed up 4 feet.
Dave,
Still a minute.
what do we do out there, or have we done anything out
Oh, yeah, you guys were doing it for a while, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
there? Dave?
I don't remember doing it.
I don't recall the village being involved in anything like that, but I'm not saying that, that's why I asked you. I don't recall.
You said the village agreed to maintain that grate. What timeframe?
When it was installed,
Which was when?
my background is underground utilities. And when that catch basin was installed in there, I said right off the get-go that those grates should not even be on there in order to make sure that they don't get plugged up. But nobody wanted to take them off because they were afraid that some child might get in there screwing around and fall in.
I'm trying to determine when that was, you recall when that grate was installed. I can't speak for council, the rest of council, but, I'm not aware that there was ever any agreement between the village and the homeowners to maintain any part of the lake.
Well, it was made in council, so it's in the archives someplace, but
Well, and also it was said that you ran on a couple of times where village agreed to dredge it. I mean, I was on council from 88 to 97, and I've been on mayor since 97, and I don't remember anything ever coming through that we agreed to dredge the lake. So I'm curious as to who told you or who wrote it, or
what, that the lake was gonna get dredged?
dredged. That's
That
what
would have been
Sean said.
me and you.
Oh, what me and you?
I came up with a proposal on how we could, because city council had a number of things that they were concerned about. The maintenance of the lake, we went ahead and we contacted a couple people, companies that would maintain the lake, and we came up with a figure on it. I sat down with all the homeowners at that time. These guys are all brand new. That's why we're sitting here again, Anyway, they all agreed to pay a share of taking care of that. But then when the lake fell through, because of Mr. Masimiak, as we both remember, he put the screws to that, and so we didn't bother pursuing doing that anymore because it was a dead issue. Why go ahead and throw good money after bad?
Well, I don't believe council ever agreed to dredge the lake. That's what I was asking, because it just, this has always been an issue around, so I think it would be in the memory there somewhere.
Because that's what created this issue back in 2002 was our decision to rely on our previous policy or existing policy of not getting involved in private property, which is how we came to propose the solution of converting the lake into a wastewater control area, in which, we would take the lake out, put in a green space, trees, bushes, lawn, shrubs, that type of thing, with underground piping to carry all the runoff down through Camel Creek. And that was the plan that we obtained grants for to fund, and that was the plan that the homeowners rejected at that time, because their only desire was having the lake dredged, which we refused to do.
Mr. Hudson, you were the law director, and Mr. Chizzy, you were on council on a homeowner. You guys have any thing to throw in?
Mayor, I prior to 1997 or 98, the village didn't even have Hillcrest. There wasn't a dedicated street.
Right.
That was a private road that went back and connected to the private road that went around the pond. And until the issue was brought up in the early 2000s regarding the lake, And as I recall, the homeowners came in here, one or more of them, and said basically they didn't trust the village to execute the plan, which was to put in a culvert and sort of a rock waterway that would be somewhat decorative and attractive and conduct the water all the way through to the outlet and then down the hill. And I think that was part of the stumbling block. The other thing, as Councilman Oakes has pointed out, this is private property. The village does have the right to manage the water course as a stormwater course in the village, but the village also has the right to assess the cost to the adjacent property owners to the degree of their benefit. And I don't think that the property owners were interested in any kind of an assessment or anything going forward. And the other thing I would point out is that this is not a isolated situation. There are other ponds in the village that are part of the water system, stormwater system of the village. And if the village comes down and dredges this pond, how many other ponds you can dredge? So I would take that into consideration when you're evaluating this.
Carol, you have anything? I mean, I just,
I'm just gonna say that since when I was on council, there was nothing, Hillcrest or this whole lake thing was never really brought up. So I can't speak to it from a council perspective. What I can say is back prior to that, there was a lot of frustration in trying to get something done. But I don't know that, I don't know that I can put that blame on council. I can't, most of the homeowners, it was generally one or two that caused the problem. So it's a frustration. I can appreciate what they're saying, what the homeowners are saying here. It was a frustration for me for all those years, but that's the point where I kind of threw my hands up. I don't know what we can do.
if that would have went, you wouldn't have a lake today, but I think you'd had a pretty nice thing back in there.
We don't have a lake.
Yeah,
We have a
right,
swamp.
right. But I mean, you wouldn't have what you have. You'd have something that I think would look pretty nice. It would not be a lake. And I don't know why council wouldn't want to take that on again at some point. I don't think we can do it right today. At that time, I would say we had money. Company was go full bore. And so we were able to match in with our grant then, something that would be out of the question right now. But it's not to say it couldn't be sometime in the future. But unless someone out here wants to say that we should be dredging, I don't think it'll ever be dredging, folks. That's.
See, the last time around in 2004, the second time around on the lake, you sent a letter to us and you sent, well, I don't know if you sent a letter or you and I just talked about it. But you gave me 3 alternatives for the lake. Either fill it in, turn it into a retention basin, or dredge it. So I called all the homeowners together again. We went ahead and took a vote on it, and they decided that they wanted it dredged because that was the biggest reason that they purchased their homes. One of the big reasons that they purchased the homes there. So then I submitted to you a plan on, because one of council's concern, another one of council's concerns was, how do we know that if we dredge this lake, it's gonna fill? And the dentist, his daughter said that there was over 20 springs that when that lake went in, that shouldn't be a problem. But I devised a situation where if it was gonna be a problem, then we could run 60-inch pre-stressed concrete O-ring pipe through there and run it in at the bottom of the lake. That way the storm water could go through and it wouldn't be leaving a lot of sediment into the lake at all. Only what would come in from the homes around it, not from the whole northern part of Westfield.
6 columns, yeah.
So you said that before you guys were gonna be hiring a civil engineer at that time.
We did, we
Right,
we
and
did.
you told me
In
that,
'03 we did, in '03.
right. And you said to me that, after I showed you the plan that I wanted, and that I thought would work, you said that you wanted me to sit down with that engineer before he was appointed. So I ran into you here at the post office the day before we were supposed to give you the answer from Westfield, the Vitamin Lake people. And I told you that, and you introduced me to the engineer, and you said that, well, we're gonna put a retention basin in there. And I was like, well, that's not what,
The only three, well, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. I never said, or would I have said, that the village would dredge that lake. Now, I do recall that when the engineers looked at that, forget which ones, they had three options, and one was dredging. But it wasn't that the village was gonna dredge, it was just one of three options to fix the lake.
right.
Just one of three options. And so, GGJ, excuse me, GGJ, yes. There were three options, and one of which was dredging, but council was never gonna do that.
Oh, okay, well, then we misunderstood your letter when you said that you wanted us to.
Show me that letter.
We were never interested in dredging because that's effectively a short-term solution. There's always gonna be sediment filling that lake to some degree.
Oh, yeah.
So we could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to dredge it today, and within a few years, it's, the cattails will be growing up again, and the sediment is gonna be building again. So there's really no end to it. It's a maintenance issue. It's an ongoing maintenance issue, the dredging piece. And that's why the solution we proposed, and which was rejected, was the stormwater drainage system solution, which would have solved the issue once and for all, albeit with the elimination of the lake.
And I believe one thing that you and I had talked about that I'm not sure if you mentioned it this evening or not, was that also conditioned upon that being dedicated to the property
It was
no longer
at
being
that
privately
time,
owned?
And that was another issue. The homeowners did not want to give up their ownership in that property, that portion of their property that contained the lake,
because that at least clears the deck of one of the issues, which is essentially improvements on private property. But that if I'm a homeowner, that I'm probably resisting that as well, because your property rights come with that. So, but I just wanted to mention that at least because I knew that was something you had mentioned. I hadn't heard it said this evening, but I was thinking that was also part of the hang up of the earlier
and at
solution.
least from my perspective, and I believe it's the water writer's perspective also, if we were to pursue that avenue or remedy,
I think in the future, it would be on the same condition.
that we would have to have that property dedicated to the village. Just like when we took Hillcrest Drive or.
As my esteemed predecessor said better than I would, I guess, where does it stop if you do that, any kind of improvement? And I know nobody in council is talking about dredging, but if any kind of improvement in that property opens you up to other private property owners who have essentially quasi-public problems to come to village council and say, well, this needs to be solved by village council. And so by taking dedication of that, having that become public property, it at least solves that issue. But then it's a question of, that's really not what you've bargained for either, as the property owners, the adjacent property owners to the, so it's another hang up to any real actual viable solution that council could offer, because to Councilman Oaks' point, that's probably going to be part of the conversation at this point too, so.
Anybody else in council want to make any comments? Or out there, first, anybody on council? We all got, okay, go, fire away, go ahead.
I have a quick question. Somewhere in here it said that the children from the Westfield Elementary School were visiting the lake when it was healthy to search for animals and learn about the environment and nature. Even though the lake was private, they were still able to access that in nature in their village without having to go any further length for that. So by helping our lake, we would also be helping the village, because I would be open to having the children come and see the pond, come and see the lake and learn. And I don't see a problem with helping all the lakes around the city, because it would benefit us all if we stop to think about it, is increasing the price of the houses, right? Which would increase how the village is looked upon. So helping our property or whatever other properties is beneficial to you as well. And I would not mind having children come and visiting the pond, or even setting a schedule, like they can come, once a month. They can have that whole week for them to enjoy our lake. I call it pond because to me, that's not really a lake the way it is right now. But it's not just one-sided. I feel like it would benefit you all as well. And we would be able to create a program where we can help maintain it. It's just not all on you. Just a thought.
Unfortunately for us, it's a matter of economics.
That's unfortunate.
There are ponds all over the village on private property and we don't have the resources to maintain.
So right now, you would say that Westfield Center is struggling with monetarily?
We are making do. We don't have the budget that we used to have that gave us the luxury of taking on projects that weren't essential to the safety and welfare of the village residents. We went from $1.5 million budget to $1 million budget almost overnight, and the monies that we raise every year through taxes go chiefly to streets and roads and sewer and water. I mean, that's the bulk of our expenditures anymore. We are able to budget on a long-term planning basis, specific projects, minor projects for the beautification of the village. What we've done with the park system in the last few years is an example of that. But by and large, the majority of our budget is spent on streets and roads.
And since the COVID, the company was a half. They're about 60% now. Got people coming 3 days a week, and so we're doing okay. But what we're doing right now, I guess financially, I would tell you, is we're waiting on the fire department to pass a township to pass a levy, because they need money and they're going to have to pass a levy. And when they do, then we're going to come back to the Westfield Center voters to get what we need to cover that. So you have fire and EMT services. And in the past, that wouldn't have been something we would have had to do, but we do now.
But at no time are we interested or can we, unfortunately.
That's the situation we have here.
So it isn't our money, our monetary situation currently doesn't really apply to this situation because we cannot use our funds for private property.
That's the crux of the matter.
Okay,
I would
so
say that sometime in
if
the
we
future-
deeded the lake to you guys, does that mean you turn it into a retention basin? Or a stream? Or would you actually dredge the lake and leave it as what it was intended for, instead of what it's turned into it?
The plan before was to take it out, I believe, put a pipe in, or run, as Bill said, some kind of a rock little
Right.
creek through there or something, run the yards down to it. And at times in a big rainstorm, it would probably be a detention, it would back up some, but it would go right down. That was the plan. And that still could be the plan. We can't do it today because we're talking about a
Oh,
money
yeah.
situation, but we won't always be in that money situation. There'll be a time when we can match we can start matching grants again. Yes,
All the information that Tom is referring to is in your packets that the mayor gave you. Those three options, the option to dredge it, the option to put the swale in, which would basically, and then the also 42-inch pipe is all in that packet. And
But option number one is the only one that you are willing to negotiate.
Yeah, why did you guys even put in dredging if you had no intention of doing it?
well, they just
Because
put
it's
it
an
in to
option
show
for
it. as-
you.
as
it was an option for you at the time.
Yeah, and that's what I presented to people. That makes me look
No, no,
like some
it's-
kind of an idiot. I present that to them and they say, no, we don't want any of those. We would like it. We bought the place we're living in because of the lake. And so I came back and I told them that, and then I get told that, they're gonna put a retention basin in. Well, nobody wants a retention basin in there. When you stop and look, half the time, every time we get a storm here, we're little kids' beach balls and everything else is coming into the lake there. So you turn it into a retention basin, who's gonna clean that? Obviously, the grates. Well, I guess if you're not gonna do the grates, then we can pull them out of there, right?
It's your lake.
Okay, all right, that's.
Just as a clarification, who is gonna maintain the retention basin? If, for example, back in 2002, you dedicated the lake to us. In other words, we took control, we took ownership of it from you, and we put in the stormwater mitigation plan that is in your packet. We would own the property then, and we would have maintained the property. We would maintain that
Yeah.
stormwater basin like we would any other in the village. So, yeah, ongoing maintenance of the stormwater system, if we put it in and dedicated the lake to us, would be borne by us.
Mhm.
I don't know what relevance this has exactly, but I moved here in 73. That's 51 years ago. And that summer, a duck laid its eggs in one of our plants there in the front of the house. My daughter was a year and a half and we watched it, and then the eggs hatched and they were gone. So we go down to the lake and sure enough, they're in the lake. And that was the summer we moved here. And the thing I would tell you is that lake needed a lot of help in 73. And that was what we saw, we looked at, we thought, wow, this is just not being taken care of. And that was in 73.
Well, you came down and took a look at it a few days ago, right?
Yes, I wanted to be there before, come down once before the, yeah.
And isn't it looking a lot better?
Oh, it's worse than it was in 73.
I'm not talking about the mud. I'm talking about the island is clear and there's a,
I don't know. I was looking at the depth, as we talked.
okay, all right. Yeah, I mean.
Becky wanted to take me and show me, and I go, you don't need to take me and show me, because I can see that. No, I didn't take note of the.
Yeah, 'cause the new people, I gave up. The new people saw, the potential there. Well, they actually thought it was better than what it was, because I'm sure the real estate agent didn't take them over and say, we only got 6 inches of water over here and a foot over there on the other end of the lake, so I know when I bought, I just, oh man, this is great, a lake here, and there's Canadian geese that when they mate for life, and those Canadian geese keep coming back and laying eggs on the island, and there's a pair of mallards that come in every year, and they lay eggs. I'm surprised because the geese will chase the other geese away, and the mallard ducks will chase the other mallard ducks away, but they live together on that island, with the eggs. There's snapping turtles in there that are at least this big around, 2 of them, because I found them in the driveway once when I was trying to go to work, and all of a sudden I was like, who put a boulder in my driveway? It was 2 snapping turtles, they were fighting. And, the herons there's two or three herons that show up there every year. There was some falcons, because they perched on my deck, they were watching. And they were there every time. So it's a matter of, we just would like to see it turn back to what it was. And
Well,
I understand this, I don't understand how you can put all these subdivisions in and bring them into one lake that hasn't got adequate.
well,
Who engineers those
that
things?
was the study that was done, and I would say, I think you guys want to come over, maybe take a look at it. The stormwater study we had done in '93 addresses every one of those issues. What if it was wrong, if it needs to be fixed, like coming down from Hans or whatever, and it really addresses the things you're saying in terms of how that water's getting there. I'd encourage you to take a look at it. I'd also encourage you to talk among yourselves and see where you might be in the future, because you know where the village is. We've told you tonight where we are. And if you could come to where we are, I think we could put on I can't speak for council exactly, but I think we did it once. Why wouldn't we put it back on to fix it again sometime in the future when we can? Because when we thought we were going to fix that 20 years ago, I was so excited and so happy, because it's a mess down there. It was a mess then, 20 years ago. And the fact that we were going to fix it, and another good thing happened in this village was so encouraging. And then it got blasted that night, and that was the end of it. And but yes, it needs fixed. It's not like the rest of the village. You guys are right, and we saw that, and we still see it. But how we get there is different. So.
I don't think we're really looking for an answer tonight, but
Right.
if we know we got somewhere we could go to with this, address it, or another grant or something. Whether it's 5 years or whether it's 10 years. but it
We
needs-
can pursue a long-term solution.
Yes, a long-term solution.
Can't say that it ain't guaranteed when it will be, or
Right, I understand that.
we will, we can pursue a long-term solution.
I think you got to decide whether you can get there with what you want exactly, or whether you can't get there, and maybe what we can do is a better option than nothing. I don't know. It's for you guys to think about. The good news here is that the five of you are talking and sit down together. And the last time it was all Charlie or me or some talking to people individually, because you could never get them to sit down, and you get different answers when you talk. And we probably should have never pursued it at that time, because it just fell apart and the village looked bad. When you're turning back a $200,000 grant, you don't look good. You don't look good. So we all set now? Move on to the agenda?
Yeah, if we went the other way and dedicated our properties to the village, how would we go about that?
I think those are all details that we'd work out.
I think, just to
Go ahead,
offer a
sure.
little insight, I think you'd probably want to have a plan built around that. And that would be one step in a several step plan, in a larger plan. So we're, to the mayor's point, I think he was trying to say, probably a few steps down the line from where we are now to kind of lay that out. But I think it would involve identifying the way forward that everybody can live with first. And then, just the mechanics of it would probably involve some surveying and things like that. Cause I don't imagine it'd be that if there's a drainage piece that's going in there, and I didn't get all into the details of the previous plan, but probably need to be some surveying and things like that done to identify the portion that would need to be dedicated to carry it out. So several steps between where we are now and where that would be, but that would all be part of it.
The village wouldn't want any more land than it took to maintain the thing. I mean, no need to come up to your backyard, to your back door or anything like that. So, but those are all details to work out as we would go down the line if it came to that.
But I think
See, I feel from a financial, I apologize, however, from a financial standpoint, that would be more costly than just bringing in equipment and dredging it.
Definitely. 2 or 3 times as expensive, but it's a final solution that you don't have to come back to. And 2, we would get grant money for a vast amount of it. We're doing this slope project out here along Greenwich Road. And our engineers got us, I don't know, 600,000-700,000 toward that. I mean, that's going to be practically paid for. These grants, and we've got good engineers that way. They're good at getting grants, and you get the bulk of the money that way to do it. And you can do it, but you're not going to get, I don't think we're going to get money to dredge because it'll be back dredging again. But you're right, it is more expensive, but it's a final solution.
But if it's 2 to 3 times more expensive,
At least that's what it showed before.
roughly approximately, and you're worried about dredging this every 20 years or so, we have.
If you dredge, you have to dredge like every
3 or 4 or 5.
But I wouldn't imagine you would do that if once he's dredged, we could talk about us helping maintaining it.
Well, this hasn't been dredged since ever,
It's never been dredged.
1950, okay? And we're at 74 years roughly, and we're 4 to 5 inches below the water line.
And with 6 pipe feeding it,
Exactly.
which wasn't there back when it originally happened, when the lake was originally in there. But now there's 6 or 7 pipes feeding that one lake. The sediment is just unbelievable. It comes down through that thing.
Any way you cut it, Sean, we're not going to dredge it. I mean, I think that's just kind of a final.
In your packet, there's also something from the soil, and this was kind of stuck with me, was from Soil and Water. And in 54, I'm sure, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure your ability to build ponds and lakes back then wasn't as regulated as it is today. And one of the things in that study is that for a pond the size of an acre, it's a 40-to-1 ratio. So 40 acres of runoff can support a 1 acre pond. They did a study on that, and it's 200-to-1. That's how much runoff. That runoff comes all the way from underneath North Leroy Road all the way down through there. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of water that's going through there.
It comes.
And if that didn't exist today, and it existed just as a stream back as it did in 54, and you all got together and said, you know what, we want to build a pond. I think if you went to the county, they wouldn't let you do it. So then I'm looking at it going, if they wouldn't let us do it today, why would we invest all this money in dredging something? Because in this study, they also say it's an ongoing maintenance issue. If they wouldn't let you build a pond, the right solution is to create a stormwater management way through there for all of this water that's generated.
But if there's 200 acres of water dumping into it, and it's only supposed to be 40 acres per one.
That's what their numbers are.
So,
and that's in your.
A, that was allowed, and B, you know that it's kind of a shady situation. 200 acres of runoff are being dumped into our pond, and none of you appear to be wanting to help us, except with the eliminating the pond.
Well, it's a waterway through the village, though. It's a stormwater waterway through the village. I mean, once it leaves your pond, it goes down through the village in a creek.
And the situation today is probably better than it was back in the 60s, because that was all farm. Every spring it was plowed by the Sisingers, and you had a lot of runoff then. Surely you had a lot of runoff with silt when the homes were being built up there, but there's maybe 1 or 2 empty lots up there today. So
Or stuff,
Well, I will-
self washed in from Smucker.
And the final analysis, though, it's, at the end of the day, it's still your private property.
With all due respect, I feel like it's actually worse today. Yes, back then, it was all set, but now we're dealing with whatever the people that live on all the surrounding developments. Now we're dealing with every single kind of fertilizer, I mean, I can only imagine what each individual home puts on their car and washes it down the drain, and it ends up in our pond.
But it's a private property.
Okay,
Private
I want to thank you for coming tonight. Anything else, give us a call and we'll go from there. And I think we left with you where we can be in the future. And I know it's not what you'd hope for, but we try to be as upfront as we can with what we can and are willing to do, I guess I would say, put it that way. So, you're welcome to watch the rest of the meeting, or you can go home. It's up to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay, I'm going to, let's see, can I have a motion to accept council minutes?
Okay.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I have a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Any additions, Debbie? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? BPA bills are there for information. Motion to accept the fiscal officer's monthly financial reports. Questions on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Ordinance, old business ordinance 2024-1 is the permanent appropriations. It has second reading, but everybody's here tonight, so let's suspend the rules and pass it. Can I have a motion to suspend? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion to adopt?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Item 2 on our old business is to replace purchase of a 2024 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor with a maintenance truck in 2024 and a police car moving to 2025. This is because the police department feels they can get a pretty good deal in 2025 on it. And we were going to do the truck next year, so we'll just flip them and do them that way now. Can I have a motion and a second to approve that change? Questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Ordinance 2024-3 to adopt the cemetery committee revisions to sections 1062.01. Can I have a motion to suspend? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or explanation needed here?
Harkening back to last month, this was brought forward by the cemetery committee in development of some non-probate transfer options for cemetery plots. And at that time, the actual ordinance language was not fully and is now. I would also state that by passing this ordinance, we are also approving the transfer documents as referenced in the ordinance, which are also attached for your reference, and those documents are simply authorizations to facilitate the.
Any questions for Greg? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Under new business, Westfield Woods Park Committee developed letter for contiguous properties. I think it was, Debbie and I were trying to remember that I think it was the Park Committee that was going to develop that. What brings it to a head is Debbie was answering some questions for a realtor who has a house listed on Westfield Road, and the potential buyers were asking, can they make a trail back there? Can they make it into the woods? What can they do? And of course, the answer was you can go to the woods, but you can't do anything else. And it got her thinking, and she said to me, maybe we need to do something. And so that's why I threw it on here. And I would get something going pretty quick.
We were doing it there, making sure that they read appropriately.
And also I would include in that some how excited we are about getting the property and, what we went through and what the value is and, the kinds of things that are so exciting about that. What the owner did to hold it for us. A lot of things there to include as well as telling them they cannot encroach on it. In addition that they can't encroach on it, yes.
It's a park in name only.
And I don't know,
Green space.
do they need to come back here with that or can they just do it and get it out? What are you guys thinking?
I feel better bringing it to.
Bring it to council next month then, okay? And what you might do prior to that is circulate a copy so everybody can look at it ahead of time and it'll just be a matter of finalizing something rather than changes and then you go back and that kind of thing, okay? Okay, item 2, Village Hall, telephone fax switch to Medina fiber. Debbie, tell us what's happened there.
What's happened is Medina Fiber can give us free internet. If we switch our phone service over to, they have a company now willing to offer us phone service called Lightspeed. So we'd be moving from Spectrum to Lightspeed. It'll save us $250 a month. So I think it's something that we want to move forward with.
Okay, any questions? Can I have a motion in a second? Let's go. I didn't see you.
How long do they provide that as a free service to the village?
There is no limit. It isn't a, there's no term on it.
Sorry.
Does our telephone number change or anything of that nature?
No, they should, yeah, they'll all be the same. So hopefully it's seamless. That's the
Well,
plan.
we have housed their equipment back here for nothing for a long time. So
When the fiber's down.
Yeah, the fiber's down.
Fiber's not down too often. So.
can I have a motion in a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 3, health care renewal, Oaks Bittner, one of you guys want to pick that up and explain?
Gonna handle it this year?
You should each have this document from our broker One Digital, which is the healthcare renewal comparison, and this 1-page document untitled, which is involves our ancillary coverages, life, AD&D, children, disability, and dental. Very briefly, this program is through SOCA, the Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance, which is a group program available to us to access through the Medina County Chamber of Commerce, and it consists of it's comprised rather of a number of public and private entities. The program is administered and backed by Anthem, which is A-rated by AM Best, and they are our current carrier. A May 1 effective or renewal date. If you look at the spreadsheet before you, you can see on the left column at the top under Anthem current, that's our expiring coverage and premiums. The center column is the renewal proposal, which is what we are recommending. And the far right column is a renewal option from Anthem, which primarily involves higher deductibles, which are significantly higher than existing. So the reason we're recommending the straightforward renewal from Anthem is it's a 7.4% increase in premium over last year, which in today's healthcare environment is very reasonable. Whereas the the renewal option to go to significantly higher deductibles would be a 3.26% increase in premium. So it was in a Debbie and I and the mayor were in agreement reviewing this, that there's no way we're gonna put higher deductibles on the backs of our employees to save 3%.
Just to the point where others going from $10,000 family deductible to a $16,000 deductible, I do not think is, I think it is too big of a burden, $6,000 additional.
Well, even looking at the individual deductibles, the terms are changing anyway under this program. The individual deductible was $3,000 at renewal, it'll be $3,250. Family deductible was $6,000 at renewal, it'll be $6,500. Now, those are some might call them not standard in the industry. But to go to the option, to your point, bit on those would be jumping from 3,000 to 5,000 and from 6,000 to 10, which is untenable in my opinion. And nothing that we wanted to entertain in spite of the fact that the premium would be lower. The only other changes in terms are the prescription drug coverage. If you look under pharmacy, the heading pharmacy, and go across from left to right. Integrated with medical deductibles, you'll see the there for level 1, level 2, level 1 and level 2 drugs. Level 1 being inexpensive name brand and or inexpensive generic, and level 2 being name brand or more expensive generic drugs. And each of those categories are going up a couple of months. But overall, I think it's a very fair renewal on the medical side. If you look at this other sheet of paper for the ancillary coverages, Principal is the current provider of our life A&D, AD&D, short-term disability and dental. Their renewal quote came in 5.7% higher last year. For all coverages under this package, the premium was $75.45. At renewal, it's $79.79, which is 5.7%. We did secure a quote from Guardian for the same coverages, and on an apples to apples basis, they were about $500 higher than our renewal proposal. So our recommendation here is that we stay with Principal. As a point of information, the Principal program renews on 1/1. So by approving this proposal today, we're approving the January renewal, basically in advance. And so this won't have to come up again. The health coverage has an effective date of May 1. So what we're approving today will be the May 1, 2024 renewal. We are working with our broker, One Digital, to have the medical coverage issued on a short-term basis, May 1 through 12/31, so that we can get this policy concurrent with the ancillary coverage policy. We won't be, deductibles are on an annualized basis for those who may have a concern, so this won't screw up the deductible accruals for any one employee who's under treatment. But it's Debbie's wish and from an administrative standpoint, having both these programs effective on the same date is much more easy to manage from an administrative standpoint than having one renewal in May and the other one in January. So what does that mean? That means that we are likely going to order up this policy on a prorated short-term basis from May 1 to January 1, and we'll revisit a 12-month renewal then at that time. There may be a nominal increase at 1/1 because we will be projecting out a 12-month period. I think it will be nominal. I don't think there's any question that we will not get the same premium in January that we're getting now, but for every slight increase there is it's going to be better for us from an administrative standpoint to have those two policies concurrent. Debbie, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Questions? Have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I didn't need the rules on that one. Oh, well. Why does somebody stop me? Why does they, Tom, you can't read?
Just like.
You just like me to stumble around up here. I know, I understand. Item 4, ordinance 2024-02, an ordinance establishing Greenwich Road Sewer Lining Fund. Can I motion to suspend?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
This was what, the $120,000 grant,
Right, right.
and the total project is 165,
167.
167, so you can see what the match is on that. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 2024-6, approving the Medina County wide 9/11 system. Motion to suspend.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Anything we need to say on that? Mr.
Well, I should just say, unlike the EMA agreement where there was a financial commitment on part of the village, I did not recuse myself on this item. I don't know that I need to, but I thought I better raise that issue in case anybody on council, in light of my role as county commissioner, thought I should. I'm happy to step out and let you consider it, or even if you wanted to wait a month to consider it with outside counsel, you're certainly welcome to. I don't believe that's necessary, but I wanted to raise.
Oh, yeah, we need outside counsel.
Looking for an excuse to spend a little bit, so I wanted to raise that issue before just addressing,
Well, now that we're fully aware of that important issue, yes.
Okay, so with that being said, this is really just an approval of the plan for the countywide 911 system. So it's an annual, or it's a plan document that's been put in place in accordance with new provisions of the Ohio Revised Code. And upon its approval by the 911 committee, it is submitted to the political subdivisions who have then a 60-day period to evidence their approval or disapproval. So this is in front of you for approval of that.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6, resolution 2004-7, appointing public records designee, who would be Mrs. Runser over to my left. So can I have a motion to suspend?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt, to give her more work.
Second.
No questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did such a good job last year.
Right?
Anybody got any additions or to new business or old or anything like that before I move to the engineer's report?
Tom, one thing, I attended the township fire district meeting and the township trustees meeting. And the only thing I have to update is they have not made a final decision yet on what they're going to be putting on the ballot in November. They know they're going to put something on the ballot. They just don't know what. They're evaluating the millage, and they're also evaluating the length of the levy, whether it be a 5-year, which is what was proposed at 2.5 mil renewable, or could it be something less? So as I get more information, I will pass that along, but they are definitely going to put something on. They're just not sure what. That fair?
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll move to the engineer's report.
Thank you. Just giving you an update on Greenwich Road. slope repair we're still on schedule. Preliminary plans were submitted to ODOT yesterday, April 1st. And just want to remind you that OPWC application, we plan on applying to help absorb some of the design costs. That applications comes out in the summer. That's all I really had, no report.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason. Police Department, Myers, Chief Myers.
The report for March, we had one report, 11 calls for service, 2 officer initiated calls for 13. We had 2 crashes in the village. 32 officer generated citizens assists, 13 vacation watches, 2 assists to the Westfield Fire Department, 6 to the Medina County Sheriff's Office. We had 1 to the Lodi Police Department for a total of 9. We had 12 traffic stops, no criminal arrests, 10 warnings, and 1 written citation. Just a note on the eclipse, Medina County EMA is activated notification board, so we'll get live, any updates that are merit concern will be pushed out to all the political subdivisions. One of which was as of last Friday, I think it was, they did a survey of the motels and hotels in the county, and very few of them were at capacity as far as bookings go. So the best advice is that if you don't have to be traveling during the hours of the event, best to view it for home, or if you're going to some special place, to get there well in advance, because they are expecting larger influxes of traffic on the major arteries, mostly towards the Cleveland area.
Any questions for the chief? Fire Department, Chief Fowler.
Look back to the report for March. We had a total of 36 runs. 5 were mutual aid to Lodi, 1 to Seville. 24 of the calls were in the township, 6 were in the village. 19 of those calls were from 8A to 8P, and 17 of them were from 8P to 8A. We received mutual aid 6 times, and again gave mutual aid 6 times. Councilman Rob's under general, I don't know, in regards to the storm siren batteries, is council aware of that?
You mentioned that.
I can talk on it, you can talk on it.
Well, so you're all aware that we've got the weather sirens in the township and the village. So when we put those originally in, there's one at the old fire station that serves the village. At the last township meeting, the backup batteries are coming up for replacement. And I volunteered the village to pay for the batteries that are in the siren that services the village at a tune of about $400.
I don't have that quote. The village, each siren site has 6 batteries. But there was, out of the 4 sites, only 6 batteries needed to be replaced, and 2 of them were at the old fire station. So
It's just something that we got to do.
I don't think we need a motion.
No. I gave Debbie a heads up on it. So.
I did, those batteries were delivered today, and I'm hoping to have them installed by week's end. Obviously today, with pending storms, I didn't think it was a good day to go out there and try to take the storm sirens. So, and Debbie, I believe Melissa is just going to invoice you for 2 of the batteries, just to cover the cost at the old station. So that covers, doesn't cover the storm sirens. I wanted to touch base real quick. I have weather alert signups from EMA. The last storm on March 14th, all 4 sites did function correctly for the storm. Although us and pretty much every other fire department and EMA got beat up pretty bad on social media, because the biggest complaint is people aren't hearing them inside their house. These are not meant to be heard indoors. They are outdoor early morning sirens. Only meant to give you heads up, so if you're taking a walk in the park, siren's going off, you know, you might not be due to the tree cover, you might not see inclement weather coming in. That's the purpose of the sirens. They were never meant to be heard indoors. My recommendation, and I can leave these wherever would be a good spot just for the public to have. They can sign up for weather alerts, and it also, not just for weather, should there be hazardous materials release or something, you'll be notified for that. Any type of maybe a manhunt, stuff like that, they'll notify you to secure indoors or whatever. So it's not just strictly for weather, but another thing you can do is you can purchase a weather radio. They work much like a smoke detector does. If a storm comes in, you know, they will alert you just like a smoke detector would. So again, I just want to be very clear that these were never designed to be heard indoors, and that's been the biggest complaint amongst EMA, is they received multiple phone calls that day, as did I. Why can't we hear them inside? So they were never designed that way. So just simply a tool, that's all these are. But I will leave these here.
We can put those in the office, can't we? And make available. Is there something that we should put inside as a stuffer, or at least part of it for the next?
I mean, I got these from EMA. I don't know, even if they don't care if you make copies of them or something and just put them in a newsletter. That would be great. It's got the front and back, because if you do text a code, each entity has their own code. So the village has a different code than Chippewa. So again, strongly encourage the use of these, and I'll leave that wherever. So and I do apologize. We did participate in a statewide tornado drill on March 20th, and the phone call I did get a phone call from Debbie, wanted to know why the siren's going off. So I apologize for not getting that one out to you sooner. But again, all our sirens are working as intended. So
Great. Any questions for the chief? Thanks for the report. Appreciate you coming. Village Superintendent, Dave.
Yeah, March superintendent report. We processed 6.77 million gallons of wastewater. The EPA reports, performed all the required operational testing, routine equipment maintenance, and performed inspection on the Greenwood sewer relining project. Your village always serviced the lighting system, worked on the landscaping, the streets, equipment maintenance, salted the streets, and we've mulched all the village properties. Installed a footer at the cemetery, been prepping ball fields in between the raindrops, and dealt with one zoning issue.
Questions for Dave? Okay, thank you. Mayor's report, nothing with Mayor's Court. Nice card from Nancy Schley. I hope you noticed that. No comments or concerns. Law Director.
Nothing beyond what we already talked about.
So you don't want to say a few things to try to impress the old one back?
I did offer him my.
That was cold. He called me old.
For the record, because this wasn't, the meeting hadn't started yet. When he walked in, I did offer him my chair because in my mind, it's still his, but I'm just keeping it warm. So.
All right. Council comments and concerns, Mr. Bittner. Val Koenig.
Nothing here.
Madam. Strokes.
Madam Clerk, I will be absent for the main meeting.
Rick Robs.
Nothing.
Craig Walker. Next meeting is Tuesday, May 7th. No executive session. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
See you.